Today we're going to talk about responsibility, the third of our 3 powerful principles and probably the one that made the biggest difference for us. We're going to talk about how taking responsibility is so critical to the issue of well-being and also how you can use it to choose your experience of life.
When we talk about taking responsibility, we're not talking about the fact that something's gone wrong and you have to take the blame, take responsibility for it. What we're talking about is taking ownership of your life. So you wake up every day taking 100% responsibility for your experience of life that day. Life stops happening to you and you start really creating your life every day.
Key to this is understanding what our thoughts are, how we relate to them and how they create the reality of our experience. Our thoughts are simply our perception of what is happening around us, based on maybe our past experiences, maybe our personal beliefs. As humans, we have a machine in our mind churning out thoughts constantly, adding meaning to what's happening around us. And it's like a running commentary that we take everywhere we go. What happens though is when we're not conscious of the way in which our minds work and the way in which these thoughts arise, we believe those thoughts to be true and we almost collapse those thoughts with what's really happening to create a story which isn't true. Our thoughts create the reality of our experience. Essentially, they create the whole of our experience.
Let's look at a real life example of this. You've worked hard on a document all day and you've just sent it to your client. You're all set to leave the office on time and spend the evening at home. And then the phone rings. It's your client and there have been some changes. Essentially, you've got to redraft the whole document by 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. As you put the phone down, some of the thoughts that you may be having might be, this always happens to me. Why am I staying in the office late on my own again? I hate my job, I hate my life, and so on and so forth. And it's likely that as a result of having those thoughts, you're going to be feeling pretty stressed or frustrated or maybe even a bit upset. And it's likely you'll be feeling that way because you really believe those thoughts to be true. And a resulting reaction may even be that you happen to snap at your poor undeserving partner who chooses that moment to ring you and ask you what time you're going to be home for dinner. Now, if we deconstruct this, let's look at what really happens. Something happens and I have a thought which I believe to be true and which produces a feeling and a resulting reaction. Now, can you see how the way I end up feeling and my reaction to what has happened is directly connected to me believing that the thoughts I have are true? I really do believe that this always happens to me and I'm the only one staying late in the office. When I'm in this reaction mode, I have no power over how I react.
What if instead of reacting, you were to consciously respond? That's where taking responsibility comes in. Using the same stimulus, the client calls and delivers the news and you put the phone down. Maybe you have the same thoughts that you did in the previous example, maybe you don't. But it's crucial at this stage that you take responsibility for your thoughts. You do that by stepping back and noticing the thoughts that you're having and letting them pass on by without making them mean anything. Why do you do this? Well, because now you can see that they are only thoughts that you've made up about what happened. They aren't the truth. All that happened is that the client called and told you something. And whereas in the previous example, in reaction mode, you collapsed your thoughts with what happened to make that mean something different to what actually happened, in this example, when you don't believe your thoughts and you separate them from what happened, you can then choose how you'd like to respond, not react, to the situation. So what does a conscious response look like? Well, it could be whatever really. Perhaps you still feel angry about it and just accept that that's how you're feeling in that moment and maybe release some of the negative energy that you're feeling. Or you could choose to use it as an opportunity to show the client how committed you are. Or perhaps you choose not to think anything of it and you just get on with the job. But in any of these conscious response examples, you're not making it mean anything.
So what are the benefits of living life this way? Well, for a start, you go from simply going through the motions in life to really being conscious of how your thoughts work. And the impact of that is that your thoughts don't have such a hold on you, and you can really start to create your experience of life. And can you also see how the drama can be taken out of certain situations using this approach? You go from being a victim of your circumstances to really choosing how to respond powerfully to those circumstances. The shift really goes from victim to owner. And what is so powerful about this approach as well is that you really can apply it to anything that life throws at you. And you'll find that you stop reacting to things as well. So stress, anxiety, frustration will all start to disappear from your life. And these emotions are very energy zapping, so you'll also find that you have a lot more energy available to you as well.
For law firms and organisations at large, having a culture where everyone takes 100% responsibility for their experience positively impacts the relationships and performance of an organisation. Where an employer is 100% responsible and an employee is also 100% responsible, they together create a 200% responsible relationship, and the benefits of that are self-explanatory. Clearly, this would result in fewer disagreements and misunderstandings. Both employers and employees would be able to create an environment in which employees are no longer holding on to any pent-up anger or frustration. This could have the potential to remove a lot of stress, or indeed possibly serious illnesses.
So how can you start to implement this into your life? Well, start noticing the thoughts that you're having and start seeing them for what they really are, just made up thoughts. And from that place, start to choose powerfully how you want to experience each moment.